Okay, so we're going to start off our 3/4 head with the underdrawing, just like we've done for the other heads. So down here is essentially what we're doing for our underdrawing. So on here, I'm going to start with a circle, using my red pen to indicate that it's the underdrawing. And then I'm going to do kind of a triangle over here. So this is going to be kind of similar to what we did for the profile view. But the difference now is that I am going to have this line here. All right, so, and then where I put the neck is going to depend on what I see in the photo reference that I'm using. So this definitely varies from pose to pose. And that's true of a lot of what you're going to see with the 3/4 view, because the 3/4 view can mean more than one thing. There's sort of a range of how that 3/4 view can be seen. All right, so we've got sort of the underdrawing done. So we have the circle, we have kind of this triangle, but we've got this angled kind of bottom here to the triangle instead of a point. And then we've got the neck. And to get where the neck attaches, you're just kind of looking and seeing, okay, is it along here or is it next to that somewhere along the jaw? And then here, again, we're having the back of the neck attached near the back of that circle. And then I'm just also laying in the back of the shoulder and this front shoulder in a kind of blocky way. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with the eye line, just like we've done before. So again, I can put this into kind of a rough box to help make sure that we're getting the eye line where it should be. Okay, so I'm going to feel out where's the middle, and we're going to go all the way from the top here all the way down to the bottom. So I think on that first try, I got it a little bit too high. So, and I want to make sure, hopefully now this time, I've got that bottom measurement is equaling this top part. All right, I think I did that pretty well. So in other words, this measurement should equal this measurement. Okay. So I think I did that pretty well, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw that in half. Now, one of the things that you're going to find is that this halfway line now is going to kind of bend or curve in different ways depending on, depending on the view. So what I'm trying to do is move around this side of the screen here in OneNote, although, okay, there we go. I was just glitching and moved over too far. Okay, so here you can see that might curve this way, but in this one it's curving up, and that's just depending on where the viewer's eye is. So kind of in the same way that a cylinder, you could have the ellipse here. These curved lines of the ellipse can kind of make a smile like so, or they could make a frown like this. And which way you see it would depend on where your eye line is. So if you're looking at it from below, you might just see that back side, that smiling side. So here's the cylinder from underneath, and here's the cylinder where our eye line is kind of somewhere in the middle. All right, so the same thing is happening with the different views of the 3/4 head. So I'm going to look at this person, and this person really corresponds to this one down here. So over here, I'm going to have my eye line kind of curve this way. And we can actually even make that blockier as we keep going here. All right. So let's see. Next thing I want to do is, I'm going to make this actually a little blockier before we move on. So notice here how this is almost a straight line here and then a straight line here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of emulate that. And I could kind of roughly create this. So I'm just drawing an angle up here from the bottom up, and then I'll have it curve over, and that would make it look like this. So I could even do that whole thing. And that's kind of giving this flattened side to the head here, and then this front plane of the face being also kind of flatter. All right, so I'm going to go from there. All right, so now I want to lay out kind of the underdrawing of the different parts of the features. But before I do that, I already got this halfway line in that you're familiar with as the eye line. Let's do the other two lines that you're familiar with as well. So typically we do another line at the nose and then another line at the mouth. So I'm going to kind of roughly, again, block this about in half, and I'll kind of have this line here running parallel to this. And again, you want to kind of look at what you actually see. Are you seeing that with the nostrils, or depending on your viewpoint, if your eye line were kind of falling in the middle, that might change at different parts of the face. But here we are seeing that. Maybe I'll move that up just a little, somewhere around there. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to divide in half this bottom part of the face as well. All right, and now we're going to be ready to put in the line of symmetry and start getting the features in. Okay, now when we do the line of symmetry from the front view, so over here, that line of symmetry goes right smack down the middle of the face, and either side of the face is pretty much symmetrical. So you've got eye, ear, and then the nose and the lips are symmetrical with that halfway line dividing them in half. All right, so that all still exists, but the head is turned to the side. So we have to figure out where would that center line be. Well, it's 3/4 view for a reason. So I'm seeing 3/4 of the face and head over here, and then just 1/4 over here on this side. So as we're going through, we want to constantly be reminding ourselves that we'll see more over here, and this side will be bigger, or we'll see more of it. And over here, it'll be smaller, and we'll see less of it. Part of it will be hidden. Okay, so I put in that halfway line of the face. And notice I even adjusted it a little bit, because at first it was maybe a little bit more actually center. But right down to here, I'm seeing more over here and less here. I'm seeing more of the eye line here and less here. Okay, so now I'm going to get in the nose. So this is the eye line. And the eye line is kind of right in line with the top of the nose. So I'm going to make an angle there. So again, from the front view, we had the eyes on either side and the nose starting right along that eye line, going straight down. And then the ball of the nose and the nostrils. Here, that center narrow part of the nose, the bridge, is going to angle down like so. And then the ball of the nose will sit at the bottom of it, right where we put the nose line here. And then we'll see this nostril and see how this makes kind of an angle over here. So we'll have that at an angle. And then over here, you might just see a little bit of this other nostril back there. So I'm kind of drawing this whole kind of nostril, but I'm only maybe seeing a tiny bit of it poking out. I'm going to erase some of that so it's not too confusing. Okay, so just a little bit of it poking out. Okay. All right, next up, we're going to get the lips in. So again, here's our center line, and I'm going to have a longer part here. And remember too, some of these same proportions, again, would be kind of the same as they usually would be. So this corner of the mouth will end up lining up kind of with like the center of the eye, and it's going to be a little bit wider than this widest part of the nose. So here I could draw kind of an angle like so between them. All right, so it'll be a little bit wider. And then here, this side of the lips, all right, from the front view, they would be symmetrical. So something like this, and then later on we would give them more definition. So maybe something like that. All right, but here we're seeing more on this side and less on this side. So this one is only going to be about 1/4, and this will be 3/4. All right, and then down here, same thing. So this side will be a little bit longer, and that oval can be a little bit smaller. And again, you want to keep track of where all these angles would be. So here, I would have an angle like so, running down. And here, I could also have an angle like so, running down underneath the bottom of the mouth. All right, and now I'm going to finish up with the chin oval. So an oval or a circle, a little bit of a gap between the bottom of the mouth and that chin, and that's the part of the chin that juts out a little bit. All right, and so now we've got the nose, the mouth, the chin, and we need to get in the eyes. All right, so now where the eyes line up, again, this is going to depend a little bit on how much the person's face is turned. So for this person, we're seeing just maybe a tiny bit of the eye hidden behind the nose. Okay, so this is going to be, and that would just be that tear duct. So if this is our eye shape with our tear duct like so, there's the upper lid and the lower lid. This tear duct is going to be just hidden behind the side of the nose there. Okay, now this is the front view of the eye. Now maybe you guys remember, and I'm hoping I'm not drawing this too far down at the bottom where you can't see it. Now as you remember, the eye in profile looks almost like a triangle. Okay, and then you've got the lid up here just wrapping around and the lid down here just wrapping around. Okay, so the 3/4 view eye is kind of like a mashup of the two. All right, so we're going to have like that much of the eye, and then this part is going to get very truncated. And voila, I just turned my front view eye into a 3/4 view's eye. Oh, and I don't know. Okay, there we go. All right, so up here, I'm doing just kind of the small version of this. I realized that I've somehow moved my eye line down just a bit, but looks fine. So I'm just going to keep it there. Okay, so there's my eye, and notice I've done that same shape. So it's not quite that really short profile eye, and neither is it quite this long front view eye. It's long and then short. All right, so something like that. All right, and then over here, we're going to have about a whole eye width here, and then we're going to start our other eye. And again, if I want to get really precise about this shape, notice here, you can see that full shape happening like so, and then like so. So if I want to draw that over here, it might be something like that. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right, so we are just about, and let me double check that I leave enough space. I think I might have made this a little bit close here to the edge of the nose, so I might actually move that back just a little bit. So remember how earlier when we did the front view eye, it's, there we go. It's 5 eyes that fit across the face. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so we've got like room for an extra eye in between in this 3/4 view as well. All right, so I'm just moving this over just a little bit so that it's not too close to the nose, which tends to look a little odd. Okay, so there we go. We moved it over a little bit. All right, now we're almost ready to start laying on the planar analysis. Okay, but one thing we do want to do is get the brow line. Okay, so I'm going to, here from the eye line at the top of the nose, I'm going to angle this up and out and just a little bit over the eye, just like we've done in the past, and then that could keep going like that. All right, and we also need to get the ear on there. So notice here in the profile, the ear was at the center of the head. Now in the 3/4 view, it's going to be right at the back of the head or very close to it, just depending. And if we're extending that eye line and extending this nose line, the ear is going to fall right along there. So something like that. And that takes us to the back of the skull. Okay. All right. So now we're ready to lay in some more permanent lines that are going to be for the planar analysis. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch to a black pen, but I'm still going to be fairly light because at this point you're not making these too heavy because you might still need to make some changes. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so I can get a little more detail in. All right, so I'm going to start up here with the nose. So I'm going to start here with my brow line. And I'm going to make that a little bit darker. And then here I'm going to look, and it's all about angles in this view. So here I would say this angle would go like that. So I've got, and that's consistent with all these other angles that I've been seeing in this head. Okay, so I'm going to make that angle like so. And then I would do this line of the nose, and I wouldn't go down to the very bottom. I'd stop about here because under here, that plane of the nose turns under and goes back. And then I'm going to make this kind of rhombus or parallelogram shape under here for that bottom plane of the nose. And then I'm going to connect the center of the bridge of the nose down to this rhombus I just made. And then here, I'm going to draw this line. So here I'm just kind of copying what I already did. Oops. Okay, so now I'm drawing this line right here, like so. All right, and now I'm just going to attach that to this bottom plane of the nose down here. Okay, so I've got the nose. All right, now I'm going to keep working on this brow and eye cavity area. All right, so over here, again, I want to kind of look and see, okay, what's this relationship? What's happening? So I might see that either straight or maybe angling down a little bit as this kind of curves across the head. So something like that. So I drew that angle down like so. And then this one is going to kind of mimic this. And then I'm going to connect this part of the nose up to the brow line. And then it's going to come over the eye. And I'm going to draw this side plane in like so. So something like that. And this is actually going to connect all the way into the eyelid. All right, so I am extending that a little bit. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this eye just a little bit bigger. There we go. All right, so I've got this shape that I was talking about where I've got this kind of shape going on and then like so. And then that is kind of happening up here as this lid wraps around as well. All right, so here's the small side, and notice I've put this teeny little tear duct in there, and then the lid wrapping around that. And now I'm going to do the same thing here with the bottom of the eye. We'll do the bottom eyelid, and we can also extend some of these planes just like they are in here. And they've actually even got a little more detail when you get really close up. I don't think I can get quite that much detail unless I zoom in even more. But this should be good for now. Okay, and then again, so at each of these turns, that's actually going to line up with and connect with the turn that's happening in the eye socket as well. So that'll come out like so, and then it's going to create this line here. So see how there's actually two lines, that and then that. So that came down a little bit, and then this one angles down and out a little bit more, and that is then going to attach here to the side plane of the eye. All right, and now I'm going to look at the other side, the other eye. Oops. Okay, so again, the tear duct is just touching the nose. Here it's actually, I think, just hidden by the nose. So I'm going to go ahead and angle, then angle a little bit more. And I can even draw this in, angle, and then angle up. And then I actually see just a little bit more over here. So I've got that. This is what I've drawn so far. Oops, didn't get that plane of the nose in quite right. Okay, and now I'm just going to add this little pointy part out here. Voila. Okay, and now I'm going to do the eyelid. So angle, angle, angle. Here it's kind of obscured by the lashes. All right, and then notice that can connect there. So all the way down as the lid turns, so does this part of the eye socket. And then that goes like that. All right, and then this will angle out just a bit. This, I don't see anything really over here. And then over here I do, but again, that's just because the head is turned a little bit more. So I'm just going to connect this back up like so. Something like that. And so it's just a little bit less of the side of the face that you see over there. So it's just at the very edge of the head. Okay, and now I want to finish up doing this rest of the side of the face. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that down a little bit because then we've got the bottom lid. So like so, and I can do those bottom lid lines like so. And then from that bottom lid, the cheekbone comes out and then might flatten a bit. And then it's going to connect back toward the side of the face. All right, so I'm debating whether I want to lay that in or wait. I think I'm going to wait a little bit because those will depend a little bit on what's happening down here. The other thing that this simplified head, we never really see the nostrils with a ton of detail, but later on, if you were drawing this in more detail, notice how we do see a little bit of this nostril sticking out here. Okay, but I'm going to go to the lips. Now, one of the things to remember, again, we want to bring it back to where's this center line? So my center line here would be like so. And then my center line underneath the nose would be like so. I'm even actually going to put that in, all right, because that's going to be really important. And then to the side there, I'm going to have, surrounding that center line, we've got these two lines of that divot. So I'm going to go ahead and now I move that over just a little bit to be the one line of the divot. And then here's the other line of the divot. And then here is the divot of the top of the mouth. So like so. All right, and now I'm going to draw that kind of crown shape that they're making there. So something like that. And notice right from the beginning with this crown, if I were to divide that in half, this side is a little bit smaller and that side's a little bit wider. Okay, and notice too, this bottom angle of that little crown shape, it's angling this way. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in this side triangle like so. And I'm going to put in a smaller side triangle, which is a simplified version of that. So something like that. And then for the bottom lip, and her mouth is just a little bit open, so I'll leave a little bit of an opening there. But I'm going to have a shape like so. So again, if I were to draw that middle line, it would be like there, let's say. And we've got that angle at the bottom. All right, and then I'm just going to connect here to here for the outside of the lip. and here to here. Oops, I guess they're doing like that, so I'll stay consistent. So something like that. All right, so something like that. Okay, and now I'll get this divot underneath the mouth. So again, I'll start with kind of an angle here that matches this bottom angle of the mouth. And I'm basically just outlining this shadow, let's say. So something like that. All right, and then I'm going to draw this line here. Boom, boom, boom. So boom, boom, boom. And then this is where the bottom of the chin turns in. So I'm just going to draw that little trapezoid there at the bottom, which will get shaded later. Okay, and we're going to connect things. So let's do this side of the face first. So one of the things you really want to look at is how large is this sliver of face between the nose and the edge of the face. How big is it here? 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 All right, so that's one of the things that's going to really determine how much your drawing will look like the person you're trying to draw and in the pose you're trying to get it. The other thing too that I haven't done yet, and I better go back and do, I'm going to connect from the bottom of the nose out to the corner of the mouth. So this line here and this line here. So bottom of nose to corner of the mouth here, and bottom of nose to corner of mouth here. And that's just defining this larger lip muscle. And see how, even though you can barely see it in the photo, when you know it's there, it's actually really helping to define that edge of the face and everything that's going on. So that's one of the reasons we do planar analysis. So I could even, depending on how exact I want this to be, I could even account for that there. All right, so I'm just connecting everything up. All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start to connect up this side of the face. So from here, I'm going to make sure that I have my ear in where I want to have it in. So on here, that ear is a little bit larger and kind of lines up more with the brow. Okay, in our photo, it's kind of here, so I can line that up by doing that and that. So I would say her ear also lines up with the brow, but notice what a strong angle is there. Okay, and then the eye line, if I were to carry that across, would be right here where the ear kind of attaches to the side of the head, for her at least. Okay, I'm going to try and make this a little smaller. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw in that ear. So notice how I'm looking at this angle and then this angle on the ear. So it's all about angles. And where does it appear to go beyond the head? Make sure here I've got the bottom of the nose, again, lining up with the bottom of the ear. And I'll kind of close it in like so. And then again, I've got that kind of outer frame of the ear that then comes in here. And this whole thing is farther back. We could shade that whole thing in. But then within that, we also have some of these shapes. So ears are a little complicated and tricky, but as with most things, it's just about really observing closely and thinking about, well, where do different lines touch? And those lines are really just the indicators of form. So what comes behind what? So see how this form here is in front of this one, which goes underneath, that kind of thing. Okay, but you don't really need all that detail. Okay, so now I'm going to get back to the more important lines. So underneath the ear, going at just a little bit of an angle down to the jawline, and then connecting this front part of the chin. And we've got this kind of sliver here of the edge of the face, and here with theirs they kind of added this line here, so I'll add that line a little bit there, and that does indeed help us kind of get just what we want with that kind of curving in and down. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start shading that in, because that's all this is. This is just where that part of the jaw and face is starting to angle inward. All right, so speaking of angles of the face, now we need to finish up by getting this side of the head kind of connected and finished up. Okay, so now I'm going to draw from this top part of the chin to up here. All right, so I'm going to bring the eyebrow line out and down just a little bit more. So it would be something like this. And I'll get rid of some of these lines over here. So something like this, just kind of extending here to about the top of the cheekbone. And then I'm going to connect that there. So that's what I'm doing on here. So something like that. All right, and now we're almost done. We just have to define this outside of the head here. So notice here how on both the model, I can see this angle in and then up like so, and I see that here. So in and then up and back and around. All right, so that's what we want here as well. So up at an angle like so. And then kind of a little bit more of an angle. And I'm kind of using a little bit more of these lines. And I'm sort of putting in the hair a little bit, so I guess I could bring that down a little bit to do no hair, but it's actually not such a bad thing to kind of put the hair in as you're doing this, because most of your models you're going to be drawing will have hair. All right, and then I'm going to finish up with the neck. So I've got the back of the neck attaching. Notice I kind of did 2 angles, again, just depending on what you see. All right, so I'm going to do this here, and then she's kind of looking over her shoulder, so I'm drawing that in a bit as well. Oops. All right, I just want to make her a little bit smaller because I'm afraid I'm losing some of the bottom here of this page. There we go. All right. Okay, so we've got the different parts of the shoulders in here. And then I'm going to finish up the head. So going from this outside of this line here and kind of angling back and around to fit with the curve of the head here, just like you have here. And then up from the ear to kind of define that seam of the head, if you will. And then if I want to draw her hair, I can actually draw that in kind of as I see it as well. So again, even the hair creates this form. The biggest mistake that artists tend to make when they first try to draw hair is they think of it as all these little separate lines, but the truth is that all of those separate lines create a lock of hair. So when you're drawing those separate lines, you have to remember that and make sure that they're following and defining a larger form. All right, so I'm actually drawing in this larger form, and see how that comes behind the forehead there. I even see a little bit of it sticking out like so. And so I'm just kind of laying that in on top of the rest of my planar analysis where I see it. All right, so something like that. All right, and then I would be able to fill that in with more, and she's got some kind of little like bun at the back of her head or something down there. All right, so that's pretty much all I need to do, except for the shading. So at this point, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and I'm going to erase some of the red underdrawing. I won't try to erase all of it because it's going to get a little bit too messy if I do that. But I'll erase some of it. I actually personally like some of this underdrawing. I feel like it gives it more depth. So I wouldn't worry if I were you if you have some of your underdrawing left over. All right, so there we go. And now I can replace some of that with some of the shading. So just notice on here, I'm just going to use the planar model over here and emulate that. So some of the darker areas would be around the eyes and the eye sockets. All right, underneath the nose. I've done a little bit around the mouth. The mouth itself. And then underneath the chin and the side of the jaw, as we were doing earlier. They've actually also done a little bit more with the curves of the neck here. So I'm going to put in this angle, and you can see where that angle would correspond to our model over here. Something like that. Oop. And then I could put in this line over here. Let's see. I could shade that a little bit. Now, as you can see, I'm not completely shading all of this in because I haven't darkened up my lines yet. So I don't want to lose my lines. So before I shade anymore, I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I want to switch to my thicker lines. So at this point in your drawing, you should be pretty certain of what you put in, and any changes you need to make, you are ready to go ahead and make them before continuing. So I'm just putting in some of those lines now so that I don't obscure them with my shading. So you can darken up some of these edges so they don't disappear. Definitely want to do that with the lips because they need a little more delicate shading. Let's see. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch back to my lighter version to finish my shading. So this whole side of the head basically can all be shaded. But this part down here is darker. Let's see. Side plane of the nose. Okay. Could do this whole side plane of the face. All right, behind the ear. All right, and there you have it. Okay, I've got that done. I never did get in there to do some of this erasing. There we go. All right, but that basically does it. Okay, and that concludes our 3/4 analysis, 3/4 view planar analysis. All right.